You're listening to Key Sports News. Why, hello. Happy Friday. That's right. Welcome to another episode of KSN, episode 7. That's right. Lucky 7. Alright. So, this is a huge weekend for American football, mainly because it's the playoffs. I know, it is. It's already the playoffs. January is football playoff month. Okay. So, there is a lot to talk about. I'm going to talk about these games for both college and the Pro Football League. No, not NFL, National Football League. Pro Football League? PFL, is that even a real league? I don't know. Anyways, you guys know what I'm talking about. You big sports fans out there know that this is a huge month of the year. I mean, we're only 10 days into 2025, and here we are. Playoff January. There's nothing like it. Okay. Now, for those of you that have listened to all the episodes so far, thank you so much. You guys know that I do these episodes on Mondays and Fridays, so 2 episodes a week, because Mondays and Fridays are the 2 biggest sports talk days of the week, because they talk about what happened before the weekend on Friday and after the weekend on Monday. That is why I'm doing 2 a week on Mondays and Fridays. However, I would record these a day in advance. Okay, so my recording days for KSN will be on the Sundays and Thursdays. It is a late Thursday night after 11:30 p.m. my time. Okay, because I don't want to wake up early and thinking, oh my gosh, I have to do KSN, you know? That's why I want to get it over with, so that I don't have to worry about it in the morning, alright? Also, yes, I know the last episode was on a Tuesday. I apologize that it was a day late. I was working on this huge video on my main channel. For those of you that watch and follow my main channel, you might know what I'm talking about. You know, you'll see this weekend. Alright? Okay. KSN episode 7, Lucky 7, here we go. Playoff football. That is what we are going to talk about. And the shirt that I'm wearing. Don't know if I already showed you guys this on KSN or not, but you probably have seen this on my main channel. A new trucker shirt, because that is my favorite game to play on my main channel. Alright? Because I'm approaching 100 episodes of that game, and that game is also approaching its 9th anniversary on Steam. Okay? First of all, as you can see, I'm in my bedroom for the first time on KSN. Okay? Because earlier today, I was hanging out with my friends. We did a lot of videos for the main channel, because I am approaching 2,000 videos on that channel, which is crazy. Alright, playoff football. I just got done recording a video of me filling out my NFL playoff bracket challenge on ESPN.com. Okay? I did my playoff prediction bracket challenge video on my main channel. Okay? So, if you haven't seen that yet, go watch that video first. If you already done that, then you can keep listening to this episode. Alright? Okay. So, the first thing I want to talk about is the game last night that just ended not too long ago for me as of this recording. The first CFP semifinal matchup between Notre Dame and Penn State. Wow. What a game. Um, you know, it's. I knew it would be a close game. Okay. I think a lot of people, I think a lot of you guys that watched that game knew it would be a close one. I didn't really see it being a one-sided matchup. It was a low-scoring game until the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter was kind of a back-and-forth shootout, okay? And, you know, it was a great game. Man, I can't imagine, like, a game like that. There has to be a winner, there has to be a loser. Man, it sucks losing in the playoffs. A game like that, it really does. So, the Fighting Irish victorious, a score of 27-24. Man, if you haven't seen that game, go watch the highlights. It's crazy. Um, I wanted Notre Dame to win only because I picked Notre Dame to win in my Bowl Mania, on ESPN Bowl Mania, that game that I would do every year. I would usually cheer whoever I pick for. All right, looked like Penn State was gonna win. It was the Orange Bowl in Miami, and for once it was cool in Miami. The weather was cool. The officials were wearing long sleeves, which is very rare that they do that in Miami, But the game itself did not disappoint. And if you're a big fan of college football, for many years, these semifinal games, they're like on 4 different networks. You got the main telecast on ESPN, Pat McAfee Field Pass on ESPN2, the Command Center on ESPNU, and the Skycam on ESPN News. So the announcers were Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy. I like those guys. And they were at the Sugar Bowl, where Notre Dame beat Georgia on January the 2nd. And Penn State they had 2 extra days of rest, because they played on New Year's Eve night, and Notre Dame played on January the 2nd because of what happened on New Year's Eve morning. All right? But that probably didn't matter much, Yeah, it was one heck of a game. And unfortunately for James Franklin, the Penn State head coach, this was his first appearance in the playoff, and he just can't win the big ones, it seems like. He just can't win the big ones. But he had a great season. I would say this is Franklin's best season as the Penn State head coach, I think. There were a lot of fans in the stands, even though both teams were far away from South Florida. A lot of the Penn State fans, they would wear all white. I don't know why that is. I guess that's their tradition. But it was a great game. It's kind of hard to put into words, So Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame head coach, his team, they beat the SEC champs, and then they beat a great Big Ten team, and on they go to the CFP National Championship game. as they'll wait the winner of tonight's second CFP semifinal matchup, number 2, between Ohio State and Texas. And now let's talk about that game. That game is tonight. I will be watching that. I like watching the Skycam or the Command Center. So for the semifinal match number 1 between Notre Dame and Penn State, I watch the Command Center because it has the coaches cam, Marcus Freeman and James Franklin. They got cameras on them the entire time throughout the game, and that just makes it more entertaining. Sometimes I'll watch the Skycam. It depends on. I usually do the Skycam for one of the semifinal games or even the national championship game, so I'll decide which one. But we all know that Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit will be the announcers for that game. And I'll tell you who I pick. I picked Ohio State to win. Originally, I have them going to the national championship game. I do. And the way they're playing right now, they won their 2 playoff games easily. After they easily beat Oregon, the second quarter of that game in the Rose Bowl, what was it, like 30-something to nothing? 34-0? In the second quarter? Oh my gosh. This team's on a mission. And I think this game will be high scoring against Texas. Texas almost lost. They almost lost their last game. And here they are, as they really are the only SEC team remaining, even though this is their first year in that conference. So I think it'll be a great game. It's the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, so I'm sure I guess it's kind of like a Texas home game, kind of, but I have Ohio State winning. And the ESPN matchup predictor kind of surprised me because I thought Ohio State, they'll give the edge to Ohio State, the matchup predictor, but no. It's like 50.8% Texas and then 49.2% for Ohio State. It's something like that. It's almost like right down the middle. It's almost like a coin flip matchup. But I did pick Ohio State to win because I think they are the better team. I think they are the hotter team. I'm just glad that Coach Ryan Day won't get fired. Isn't that crazy? His job was on the line. I know he can't beat Michigan, but look, here he is in the Final Four, you know. I think he will finally beat Michigan next season. I think he will, even though it'll be in the big house. But I think he can do it this time. All right. All right. Speaking of Michigan, the former head coach for Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, is back in the NFL playoffs. The first year back in the NFL, and he is back in the playoffs with the LA Chargers. Okay, so I mentioned I did a playoff prediction video, or it's a bracket challenge. Okay, so go ahead and watch that if you haven't seen that yet. And you can do that on ESPN.com. It's called Pigskin bracket challenge. You'll see it once you go to the NFL tab. But I said in my prediction video, I think this will be the most intriguing NFL playoffs I've ever witnessed or seen. You know, I mentioned before that I'm not a big NFL fan. I used to be, like about 10 years ago or so. But then, like, the late 2010s and then the COVID years, I really didn't like it. Really didn't like it. However, the past 2 years, I don't dislike it as much. And now I'm slightly getting back into it. Meaning, I don't watch every game that they have on prime time. I don't watch 3 games every Sunday, but I do know what's going on. Thanks to me watching TSN Sports Center with Jay Onright, okay, and listening to my favorite podcasts. Yeah, I did an episode of me talking about my favorite sports talk podcasts, and that's where I get my NFL news. And I find it interesting because we're in a new era. 5 years ago or so, it was different. I really didn't like it. Now, I guess I kind of like it, but, you know, um, it'll be interesting. So, I hope. Listen, all these wild card games, they're all interesting matchups. I just hope the playoffs don't have bad officiating, and I hope it doesn't get criticized like last year's playoff. It seems like last year's playoff was not what people were hoping to happen. Last year's Super Bowl, when we found out it was going to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers, a lot of people weren't happy about that because those two teams already faced each other 4 years before last year's Super Bowl. And even though the game itself was a pretty good game, I'll admit, I did watch the first quarter on TV, but, I haven't watched the Super Bowl in like 7 years. Super Bowl 52 was like the last one that I kind of got into. Didn't watch Super Bowls 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, and 58, even though I watched only one quarter of 58. But then the rest of the game, I listened to it on radio while I was live streaming my favorite game, Truck Simulator. So I guess that kind of counts. I'm listening to the game even though I don't watch it. Plus, the game was on CBS. I'm not a fan of CBS Sports anymore. I gotta be honest, back 10 years ago, CBS Sports was awesome. I don't know what happened. It's not the same, It's like a totally different network now. What happened to CBS? The old CBS was amazing. Now it kind of sucks, in my opinion. I mean, no disrespect. That's just me, Nothing can be the same forever. I guess the only thing that still is kind of the same is their March Madness coverage. I'm not a big basketball fan, but I'll follow some of March Madness. And, games are on CBS, TBS, TNT, and True TV, all part of Turner Sports, but now it's called TNT Sports for whatever reason. That's still pretty good. I'm not a golf fan, so I know every year they have the Masters. I'm sure that hasn't changed much either, but it seems like for football-wise, it's not the same anymore. So that is another reason why I didn't want to watch that Super Bowl, because it was on CBS. And their graphics, that new score bug, sucks. It really sucks. It's like another rip-off of their last one, So yeah, I refuse to watch games on CBS no matter what. And that's why I'm glad the SEC is no longer on CBS. I got tired of it. 10 years ago, I loved it with Vern Lundquist. But ever since COVID, the COVID years, it's not the same. I'm getting kind of sick of it. Now I'm glad it's no longer on CBS. I'm glad it's on ABC. It's the best now. So you guys get the picture. All right. So I won't be watching the CBS games, but I might watch the other wild card games. I will watch the Monday night game because it's the last one with Peyton and Eli of the season, and I guess it will be the last for Bill Belichick as well. I guess Bill's not coming back next season with Peyton and Eli because he is now the head coach at North Carolina. So I will watch that. And as I speak, not too long ago, we got some breaking news of that game. That Monday night wild card matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the LA Rams has been moved to Glendale, Arizona, home of the Arizona Cardinals. And the reason why is because of the wildfires. I guess the fires are that bad. That's crazy. Getting fires in the winter. I guess it's never cold in Southern California. It's never really cold in Southern Florida either. So why don't they get fires? Well, it's because it rains a lot there. It rains a lot in the Southeast. The Southeast gets hurricanes. The Southwest, fires. The Northeast, a lot of snow. If you live in Canada, you got to deal with that negative 15 degrees. So no matter where you live in North America, you're going to have some bad weather or some kind of natural disaster. Tornadoes in the upper Midwest, So yeah, that game has been moved. But like I said, I think all these games will be interesting. The one team that I don't want to see in the Super Bowl is the LA Rams, mainly because I've never liked the Rams, especially after they beat the Saints to go to the Super Bowl, which was almost 6 years ago, even though that was a different team. But never liked the Rams, which means the Rams might go to the Super Bowl. But I would like to see the Buffalo Bills in it. Josh Allen, probably the best quarterback of the year. But recent years, they always run into the Kansas City Chiefs and then they lose. If they do play the Kansas City Chiefs, it'll be in the AFC Championship game. It won't be in the divisional round, okay? However, they might have to play the Baltimore Ravens. If both the Bills and Ravens win their wild card games, I think they will face each other in the divisional round. And also the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, he chokes too in the playoffs. But at least the Ravens, they won the Super Bowl twice in 12 years. Or 24 years. Yeah, they won the Super Bowl in 2001. And then they won it again in 2013. So yeah, 12 years, right? Well, here we are, 12 years later. Maybe the Ravens will win it again. And also, 12 years ago, the Super Bowl was in New Orleans. And now this year's Super Bowl is in New Orleans. The first Super Bowl I watched was the power outage game in the Superdome in New Orleans. Super Bowl 47. Here we are approaching Super Bowl 59. Okay, so I would like to see the Ravens win it. I want to see Buffalo more because they've never won it before. I really think an AFC team's gonna win it because it seems like the best teams are on the AFC. Kansas City, who knows how they're gonna play. I know last year they were kind of the so-called underdogs in their playoff games, which is kind of weird. But they found a way to win that Super Bowl. Back-to-back Super Bowl champions are going for a three-peat. It's never happened before in the Super Bowl era. But if they're in it, I think I'm going to cheer for them. I would like to see history being made. And like I said, I'm not a big NFL fan. Back when I was a big fan, my least favorite team was the New England Patriots because they always have a great season. And a lot of people got sick of that team. Well, ever since Tom Brady left that team, it's been the Kansas City Chiefs. And now people are sick of that team. That's what happens when you're on a dynasty for years, But since I'm not a big fan of the NFL, I don't mind seeing Kansas City winning it again. Plus, I find them more entertaining than I find Patrick Mahomes more entertaining than Tom Brady in their prime. Because Tom Brady doesn't run. Patrick Mahomes runs. No disrespect to Brady. Yes, Brady's the greatest of all time. Don't get me wrong. He won the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers at the age of what? 45? No, it wasn't 45. It was 43, I think. Still, you know. But I've always liked Patrick Mahomes. I've always liked Andy Reid, you know. So, I think a lot of people will be rooting for them only because of the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce relationship, just like last year's Super Bowl. Even though I didn't really care about last year's Super Bowl, I actually wanted the 49ers to win only because their quarterback, Brock Purdy, was the last pick of the draft. They call it Mr. Irrelevant. That would have been cool to see Mr. Irrelevant winning that Super Bowl. And now they're not in the playoffs. When's the last time that happened where a team was in the Super Bowl the following year, not in the playoffs? Probably the Atlanta Falcons. Ever since that's got to be like the biggest collapse in sports championship history, I think. At least in the Super Bowl. Football, American football, So, but yeah, I think this might be the greatest. This might be probably the greatest playoff ever, at least in my lifetime. All these matchups are interesting, so I guess I'll cheer for the teams that I picked in my playoff bracket challenge, just like I did for Bowl Mania. Okay. The schedule is weird because the first 3 wild card games are all AFC teams, and then the last 3 wild card games are all NFC teams. They did that last year. They're doing that again? That's weird. It's instead of alternating between AFC, NFC, AFC, NFC, it's AFC, 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 and then NFC, NFC, NFC. That's weird. I mean, it probably doesn't matter, but I find that weird. It would be nice if it was, back and forth between the conferences, but if that's how they want to roll with it, all right then. And also, the Houston Texans, they're in another home playoff Saturday afternoon game. Again, it's like they're doing that on purpose. I mean, that doesn't bother me because I'm not a big NFL fan, but and the game is on what? What's the game on? It's not on ESPN. Usually ESPN and ABC would have the Saturday games, but it's not. I think it's on CBS. I think there's 2 games on CBS. The Saturday night game is on Amazon Prime between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Last year, we had a playoff game on Peacock, and everybody was going crazy, criticizing them. But I wasn't. Why? Because I already have Peacock. So I'm like, okay, it's on Peacock. I already have it. Cool. But the people that didn't have Peacock, they were pissed off. So, but I gotta say this, I find it strange. You know how Sunday Night Football is on both NBC and Peacock? Well, that playoff game was only on Peacock. They didn't have nothing was on NBC that night. Nothing special. It's so stupid. But Amazon Prime isn't as stupid because they've always had Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. Well, except for the first Thursday night game of the season and Thanksgiving Thursday night. NBC would have those games. But for the past couple of years, it's pretty much Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football. Okay? So, And then you got 3 Sunday games, okay? And then the Monday night game. So, it'll be interesting, all right? And you know what? We're already at the 30-minute mark. Wow, this is probably the fastest episode in KSN history. Lucky 7. Okay, you know what? Let's do something lucky here. Let's extend the episode 5 more minutes. 35 minutes. All right? So on Monday, okay, episode 8, the first thing I'll talk about will be the second semifinal of the college football playoff, because that happened first, right? That's on Friday night. Then I'll talk about the NFL games, the wild card games. Well, except for Monday night, because that's the last one, all right? So, and then I'll listen to a lot of sports talk on Monday. The shows that talk a lot about the NFL are mainly the 3 shows on Mad Dog Sports Radio. You got the morning show, Shine on Sports with Adam Shine. If you have the SiriusXM app, I recommend listening to those shows. And if you want to listen to them live, Shine on Sports with Adam Shine is from 8 to 11 a.m. Central. Then you got Michelle Beadle and Cody Decker from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. And then you have the man himself, Christopher Mad Dog Russo, from 2 to 5 p.m. Central. Okay? I usually don't listen to them live. Sometimes I'll listen to Mad Dog live because I'm awake during the afternoon. But I would normally listen to those 3 shows the following day. So I would listen to their Monday episodes on Tuesdays. Sometimes it's like that. And the reason why I usually don't listen to them live is because on demand they have chapters, and if there's a certain part of the show that you don't care about hearing, you can just skip it. That's great about having chapters, okay? So I'm not an NBA fan, and sometimes Michelle Beadle and Cody Decker talk about NBA. When they do, I skip it. Because right now, the thing happening in sports right now is the NFL and the CFP playoffs. I don't care about NBA happening, okay? I've never been an NBA fan, but I would usually somewhat follow the playoffs, some of it. I'm more into the National Hockey League playoffs because both the NBA and NHL playoffs happen at the same time. It's hard to be a fan of both. So I would usually follow hockey because my family, I have brothers that are more into hockey than basketball, even though we all live in Louisiana. However, my city, the capital city of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, has a minor league hockey team. And I went to 2 of their games, and I enjoyed myself. I was entertained. So I think I'm going to go to a game. One night, I'll try to go to a game by myself and do a video there and post it on my main channel so you guys can get an idea on what it's like to have a minor league hockey team. All right. Whew. All right, man. This is it. This is a huge weekend for playoff football. And enjoy the games. Hopefully none of these games get criticized like crazy. And we'll see what happens. All right. I will see you guys on Monday to recap these games. And then, yeah, that is basically it. We will see who will Notre Dame face in a national championship game, Texas or Ohio State. I picked Ohio State to win, and I'm going to cheer for Ohio State because I feel like the way they're playing, I feel like they deserve to win that championship. The national championship game will be Monday, January the 20th, 10 days from tonight And also, January the 20th is Martin Luther King Day and Inauguration Day. That's huge. It's a huge day for reality TV. So yeah. All right. Thank you for watching KSN Episode 7. Have a great weekend and let the NFL playoffs begin. See you on Monday. Thank you for listening to Keith's Sports News.